Yeah, this is a complete football 1979 Panini sticker album. This goes through the what was then the First Division, the Second Division, and also the Scottish First Division. This will hopefully bring back a few good memories of a lot of the old players that used to be around back then. Starting off with the first one with the Arsenal, managed by Terry Neal. Pat Jennings in goal. I think he followed Neil from Tottenham to join the Arsenal. Then you had the Irish contingent with Pat Rice, Sammy Nelson, David O'Leary, Liam Brady, Frank Stapleton. We have Willie Young, who I think also come over from Tottenham with Terry Neal, Super Mac, Malcolm McDonald, Alan Sunderland. If I remember rightly, Alan Sunderland hit someone in a car, killed him. Was that right? Might have even been drink driving. I think that ended his career. He obviously first made his name with Wolverhampton. But David Price, I can remember him. Stevie Walford, Richie Powling. This back in the day there, I can remember going to Arsenal and you used to have at half time where you'd have the band. And it'd be the brass band be walking on the pitch, and he'd have the big metal thing at the front. He'd throw up in the air, and everyone used to cheer, hoping he weren't going to catch it. But he always did. Give me his due, always did. The Villa, Big Ron Saunders as manager, Jimmy Rimmer in goal, John Gidman, Gordon Smith, John Gregory, Leighton Phillips, Ken McNaught, Frank Carradus, Dennis Mortimer, Tommy Craig, Gary Shelton, Gordon Cowans, John Dean, very young looking Andy Gray, very thin looking Andy Gray as well, and Brian Little. They were a good team back then, the Villa. Birmingham, Bald Eagle, Jim Smith managing, Joe Gallagher, Alan Ainscow, Gary Emanuel, Don Givens, I think he was at QPR first. Stuart Barraclough, I think he was at Newcastle. Tony Towers, Kevin Dillon, and Trevor Francis. First £1 million player. Bolton Wanderers. The Terry Paul, Sam Allardyce playing for Bolton. Tony Dunn, Frank Worthington, the Playboy. Neil Watmore, Alan Gowling, he was another Newcastle, Willie Morgan, Man United, Peter Reid, blimey, Peter Reid playing there, Ray Train, remember that name as well, Bristol City, Terry Cooper with that moustache there. If you've ever seen anyone looking more like they were a copper than that. Norman Hunter, Norman Bites Your Legs. Joe Royal, the old Everton striker. Peter Cormack, he was Liverpool, wasn't he? Kevin Mabbott, no, it was Gary Mabbott, wasn't it? Not Kevin. Don't remember any of the others. Chelsea, the Cat in goal, Peter Bonetti, Mickey Droy, Chopper Harris, Gary Locke, Steve Wicks, Ian Britton, David A, Ken Swain, Ray Wilkins, Ray Lewington, Gary Stanley, Duncan McKenzie, Tommy Langley, and Clive Walker. What was that song they used to sing about him? Walker was a flasher. Was it that? Coventry. Mick Coop. Remember Mick Coop? Tommy Hutchinson, Terry Yorth, whose daughter Gabby is obviously the big TV presenter now. Don't really remember any others. I do remember Ian Wallace though, the ginger, with the ginger curly hair. Remember him. Derby County or Derby. Tommy Docherty managing. Roy McFarlane, David Nish, Aidan McCaffrey, Steve Buckley, John Duncan, Gordon Hill, the old Man United winger, Charlie George, forgot Charlie George played for them, Another Arsenal connection, Bruce Rioch playing for him as well, Jerry Daly. That was quite a good team then, Derby back then. Everton, managed by Gordon Lee. Now weren't it Gordon Lee, the one they used to call Dracula? Is that right? Terry Darricott, Colin Todd, Mick Pagic, Mick Lyons, David Jones, Martin Dobson, I think he was at Burnley originally, Andy King, Jeff Nolte, Mickey Walsh, Dave Thomas, and Bob Latchford. Now, Bob Latchford back then was the big time striker, always getting the goals. Ipswich, managed by Bobby Robson, Paul Cooper in goal, George Burley, Alan Hunter, Kevin Beattie, the famous Mick Mills, Russell Osborne, Mick Lambert, Brian Talbot, John Walk, Roger Osborne, Clive Woods, Peter Mariner, Trevor Wymark and David Geddes. That was quite some team, but then again, Ipswich were winning all the trophies back then, weren't they? Dirty Leeds, Paul Madeley, Frank and Eddie Gray, Paul Hart, Peter Lorimer, Ray Ankin, Trevor Cherry, Ryan Flynn, Tony Curry. He was a good striker, Tony Curry. Liverpool, Bob Paisley managing, Ray Clements in goal, Phil Neal, Phil Thompson, Hanson, Emlyn Hughes, Alan Kennedy, Souness, Terry McDermott, Ray Kennedy, Davy Johnson, Super Sub, Davy Fairclough, Kenny Dalglish, Steve Highway, Jimmy Case. What a team. What a team that was. Man City, this was obviously before the Arab money had hit them. Joe Corrigan in goal, Dave Watson, Asa Hartford, remember Asa Hartford, Paul Power, Gary Owen, Brian Kidd, Peter Barnes, Mick Shannon, old Southampton player Mick Shannon. Didn't realise he played for him. Manchester United, Dave Sexton managing, Paddy Roach in goal, Jimmy Nicholl, Gordon McQueen, Martin Buchan, Brian Greenoff, Stuart Houston, Lou Macari, David McCreary, Sammy McElroy, Jimmy Greenoff, Steve Coppell, Stuart Pearson. Now, when we were kids, there was always the rumour that Stuart Pearson's dad was an Apache Indian. Never found out if that's true or not. Chris McGrath and Big Joe Jordan. Again, what a cracking team that was. Middlesbrough, John Craggs, Stuart Bone, Craig Johnson went and played for Liverpool, Davy Armstrong, I remember Davy Armstrong, don't really remember any of the others. Norwich City, managed by John Bond, Kevin Bond, I don't know if that was his son or not, David Jones. Norwich then had the Tottenham connection, didn't they? Jimmy Neighbour, Martin Chivers and Martin Peters, all ex-Tottenham, all ended up playing at Norwich. I think it was like the end of their careers, really, and they just went up there for that. Nottingham Forest under Cloughie, Peter Shilton, Viv Anderson, Frank Clark, David Needham, Kenny Burns, Larry Lloyd, John Robinson, John McGovern, Archie Gemmell, Ian Bowyer, Martin O'Neill, Steve Elliott and Tony Woodcock. Now, he was a player, Tony Woodcock. He used to bang the goals. QPR, Phil Parks. Remember Phil Parks? Yeah. Ian Gillard. Glenn Roeder. Went on to be bass guitarist of the Sex Pistols. John Hollins. Stanley Bowles. And that was a character, Stanley Bowles. Peter Eastoe. Southampton under Laurie McMenemy, Chris Nicholl, Ivan Golak, David Peach, Old Squiggy, Alan Ball, Terry Curran and Ted McDougall. Ted McDougall, look at his big shiny teeth, look like he's just come back from Turkey. Tottenham, won't bother with them. Alright, we'll have a quick look. Keith Birkinshaw managing them. Barry Daines in goal, Jimmy Holmes, John Lacey, Terry Naylor, Don McAllister, Steve Perryman, the two Argies, Ardiles and Ricardo Villa, Glenn Oddle, Neil McNabb, Peter Taylor, Jerry Armstrong, Chris Jones, and Colin Lee. I don't really remember any of them. West Brom, who were famous back then for the 3 degrees, Brendan Batson, Laurie Cunningham and Cyril Regis. Managed at the time, Ron Atkinson. They've also got a young Brian Robson playing from there. 22 years old, it says there, 22. Wolverhampton, managed by Sammy Chung. They've got Kenny Ebbett, I remember him. John Richards, yeah, he was a good striker, I remember him. Steve Daly, Willie Carr. Down there, Bob Hazel, who I believe got done for throwing petrol bombs, was it, in the 1980s riots up in Birmingham. That was the end of the first division. Now we move on to the second division with the teams who were in it then, which was Blackburn, Brighton, Bristol Rovers, Burnley, Cambridge United, Cardiff City, Charlton, Palace, Fulham, Leicester, Luton, Millwall, Newcastle, Notts County, Oldham, Orient, Preston, Sheffield United, Stoke, Sunderland, West Ham, Wrexham. Then we go on to the Scottish First Division. Aberdeen, who were doing good back then, managed by Ferguson. Stuart Kennedy, Gordon Strachan playing for him. Steve Archibald, who went on for Tottenham. Ian Fleming, who went on to write the James Bond books. Celtic, managed by Billy McNeil. In goal, Peter Latchford, who was the brother of Bob Latchford, the old Everton striker. Roy Aitken, Danny McGrain, Joe Craig, Tommy Burns, Roddy McDonald. Can't remember any of the others. Dundee. Who we got in Dundee? No, don't remember any of them, but in goal they've got Hamish McAlpine. I don't think you could get a better Scottish name than that, could you? Hearts, Eamon Bannon, I remember that name. Dave McNichol, no, don't remember any of them. Hibs, Ali Brazil, not Alan Brazil, Ali Brazil. Des Bremner, vaguely rings a bell. No. Morton, Billy Thomas, Charlie Brown. Imagine going through life called Charlie Brown. Jesus. No, none of them. Motherwell, David Latchford in goal. That's the third Latchford brother. I believe they were all from Birmingham originally, I think. Don't remember any of them other than Peter Marinello, who had a short spell at Arsenal. Park Thistle, Alan Ruff. Where did he end up? Johnny Marr, who ended up in the Smiths with Morrissey. Don't remember any of the others. The Jers, managed by John Gregg. Tom Forsyth, Sandy Jardine, Davy Cooper, Derek Johnson, Tommy McLean, Gordon Smith, Derek Parlane, Bobby Russell, Colin Jackson, Alex McDonald. St Mirren. No, I don't remember any of them. And again, why would I? And that is the end of it. But some great players, some great memories. And that's when football used to be football.